Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Yeah, I probably did. I will fix that.
I just noticed that, but it's the agenda. It doesn't.
Good
It doesn't
afternoon.
matter.
We are beginning the Tree Advisory Committee meeting March 13th, 2025 at 4:03. Approval of the minutes.
And so these are the January minutes since we didn't have quorum in February.
I'm sorry. What?
These are the January minutes since we didn't have quorum in February.
Oh, okay.
And then I did kind of put together January minutes for February, but we didn't have quorum, so there was no voting.
Couldn't do anything.
Yeah. So you're actually voting on the January minutes.
But I have a question about number 4,
Sure.
where it says the October 10th. I didn't get. Why is that date there?
Because that
that's
was
a
the,
Was that the last meeting?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
I will change that.
No,
Yeah, that's a mistake on my part. I will get that
okay.
changed.
So it should be January
Yeah.
9th or something.
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah, I will
February
change
you didn't have a quorum, so nothing was done.
Right,
No business
so
was
no-
done. Okay,
No meeting on February 13th
okay,
because of no quorum.
okay.
And we can talk about that at the end, maybe about ideas on rescheduling that.
Okay,
sure. I move to approve the minutes.
second?
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the minutes from the January 9th, 8th, 9th?
January 9th.
January 9th, 2025 meeting
Hey, Craig.
has been,
Great.
minutes have been approved. Hi, Craig.
No, you're good.
All right. All right, taking a look at the agenda for tonight, does anyone have any recommendations to order at all? Not?
Stuff didn't print for me, I don't.
Oh, okay. Let me share it with you.
Okay. Oh,
Have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second?
second?
All right, all in favor of tonight's agenda as written, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so approved.
Okay.
All right, our first agenda item, future articles for Fitchburg Star.
Oh.
Oh, I'm sorry, but any, Sue, did you have anything you wanted to say tonight? Okay, all right, thank you, good to see you. It's not really tonight, but it feels like it was.
It's so much brighter now.
Yeah, all right. All right, future articles for Fitchburg Star.
I asked to have this on the agenda because I'm about to write an article about trees in the spring, and then maybe, depending if Anna thinks it makes sense, maybe I'll do trees in the summer, but then I'm done with the year and I need other ideas for articles related to trees. So.
One idea I thought about was looking at how tree canopy, I know we talk a lot about it here and in the work we do, but maybe an article on how tree canopy contributes use to our community economically and in many other ways, our ecosystem.
Okay.
And maybe even, possibly even breaking that up into more than one article in the series. And
Just to add to that, I was going to bring up on Tuesday's city council meeting, we had a presentation from Phil Groupie and Pale Blue Dot, like to the level where I wish every deliverable looked like that. It was a beautiful report out of our sustainability plan from RCC, and part of it included like tree, carbon emissions. I wonder if we could also use that as a supporting note to that point of like
wonderful
goals around that too, and it has really good like imagery, stats, things like that. So I can find a copy of that for you too.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing, Sue, one thing I was hoping maybe we could do is put a little article, oh hey Terrell. Put a little article together just encouraging people to participate in our strategic management plan process.
Say tree manage.
Our, because we're gonna be doing a strategic management plan process.
Okay.
And it would be great maybe if we had a little Fitchburg Star article about that, just about, just introducing the whole idea and then having, because we will be having, listening sessions and that sort of thing. And so if we can have an article about that, I think it'd be great.
so you're gonna have education sessions for people who,
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah,
So basically asking people if they're interested in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just kind of describing what we're doing and asking for people's input and just kind of describing how they can do that.
What's your timeline on that?
We'll talk about that. It's an agenda item.
Yay.
Okay.
Depends on how our summer turns out, but I do feel like a drought or watering
Yeah.
what to do
Yeah.
for droughts. Hopefully it won't be.
It already is. And I would talk about that when it came to spring, that
Okay.
since we had this non-winter, without much snow, that we need to water the trees when
New
they
trees
start
especially, they need
when
more.
they start to come back. Okay.
And guidelines on that, on the most efficient way to do that.
This idea might not be the best, but I do feel strongly that late March, early April was a very good time to pull garlic mustard. Doesn't directly relate to trees, but maybe indirectly, I don't know.
Well, I could throw that in to what I'm already writing relating to spring.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
that stuff pulls pretty easy anyway.
Yeah, it pulls out easily if the ground isn't all moist.
Is there anything else with spring trees, springtime, the tree care?
Well, we talked about it a little bit. The one thing that I did mention that that potentially could be in your spring article, which is just that we had a pretty heavy salt winter with no snow.
Oh, yeah.
So the salt went right onto trees and right into the soil. So doing a real thorough flushing, if you can, to try and dissolve some of that salt and move it through, if you can,
Yeah.
is really probably a great idea, because we did have such a dry winter. We had an awful lot of salt application because of icing and things, without much, if any, snow cover. And then the snow kind of melted all at once, which kind of took the, some salt with it, but there was so much salt in some areas you could sweep it up. Which is just how it goes. I don't know what to say about that, but it's very detrimental to our trees and shrubs and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the public clearing and icing, or are you talking about private, or both?
Well, both to some extent, but mostly, to be honest, where I noticed it the worst was actually contractors who take care of sidewalks for, around the city. So
For private property. Yep.
Yeah.
We've been seeing that too in our neighborhood, and I struggle with my contractors on that.
Yeah, and I know, and I think part of it was that it was, it just was sort of how it went this winter, in terms of we had a lot of freeze thaw, and we had a lot of, not enough snow really to plow,
Right,
and, but enough to make ice, and it was rough.
right.
So, and I don't know if that's the new reality moving forward or not, or what, or it's hard to know.
Well, and I know RCC has talked about trying to get contractors who are SaltWise certified.
Yeah,
And sometimes I've had an experience where I'll get a contractor who has been trained in it, but that's really different than being SaltWise certified, because they may have trained in it 2 years ago, but the crew they sent out may not have been. So that might be something to mention in the article.
yeah, and I kind of hope maybe that will come up, because it's significant, and I know salt is cheap and it's expensive to sweep it up, and, I don't know what to say about it, but it's an issue.
There was I'll send you the sustainability goal, because it talks about 37% more tree canopy coverage by 2050, like some of our city goals. But I think also Ben, did a presentation on like stormwater things, and I think it had something about salt in there too.
Yep. Yeah,
And like how difficult it is to eradicate in runoff.
Okay,
So like getting you supporting stats for that.
you could send me that link soon.
I will send it to you right now.
Oh my God.
If you're gonna go through all the trouble to write, what you can do is.
Are you using the copy that was in the packet for the meeting this week, or is it another different one? If it's a different one, would you send that to me?
Yeah, I am linking to the sustainability plan, but in the common council packet, I can just send it out to you.
Otherwise, I can just get it from that too.
Yeah. I'll find it.
I'm happy it was well received, it's very good.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, well,
Thank you very much.
we'll see. But yeah, you're welcome. I don't know, it's scary to me just that there was really no winter. Except we were gone for 2 weeks, and that's when you had all the cold and snow. But other than that, it's been ridiculously warm and dry.
Yeah, very much so. So we'll see. It'll be an interesting growing season. I don't know what to expect.
Okay,
All right, some good ideas, Sue.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Good conversation. All right, next item on the agenda is Resolution R4525. All right, so it's the approval of moving Fitchburg forward strategic urban forestry management plan consultant. Melanie, you want to take it away?
Yeah.
And, we do need to vote on this tonight too.
Yeah, so basically, we got a grant to write a strategic urban forestry management plan, and the grant is a $25,000 grant from the DNR. And so I put out to bid, I advertised for basically RFPs, projects, and we got 3. And the best one, the one that scored the best, was EOC and Environmental Group. And so their proposal is part of your packet. And this is all I put it in the paper, I advertised it on Quest, and did all the things we're supposed to be doing. And that's the scoring sheet. And they were just far and away more. They really. Where I can't even. Here. So you can see, because the people doing the work, you can see, and you'll see this. They just scored really high because they do this all the time. The person who'll be working on this has a PhD and is a BCMA and has won a lot of awards from the International Society of Arboriculture, so they were just head and shoulders above everybody else.
It's an BCMA.
Board Certified Master Arborist. And
like you, right?
Yeah, like me, actually, yes. Mm-hmm. And they did a lot of the tree canopy work here in 2015. They've worked with DNR a lot. They were just head and shoulders above everyone else, so they were a pretty easy choice. And I was grateful they want to work with us. And so this was the contract that they signed. So basically, this is the RFP I put out. Basically, I kind of just gave some background information, described the project, what we were looking for, and the scope of work. And then basically what I wanted to know from them. And and then the contract, the value approved, so I must not have screwed it up too badly, and this is the proposal. So basically, you have seen they're based in Iowa. Richard Hauer, who some of you may know, will be the person working with us the most. He was a UW-Stevens Point professor until very recently. He recently retired from that position and is now doing consulting. And he was the one that came here 3 years ago and we did an ash treatment, some ash treatment work with him that he published. He also did, like I said, he was part of the canopy work that happened basically with the DNR in the Madison area. And so, just some highlights of the proposal. They've got quite a few. They have a lot of experience with this, and they have a pretty deep bench in terms of Rich will be our person, but they have a pretty deep bench of people who will be working on this, which is awesome. And from a technological standpoint, they really do understand the canopy work and the remote sensing in terms of how that's all derived, which is awesome. So we should be able to get some really good information from them. And the thing too that kind of put them ahead is that they're willing to do quite a bit of outreach. I was going to have this all set, but so if you look at what they're kind of basically the nuts and bolts of what they're talking to do, the need is that we need a strategic urban forestry management plan, and their approach is they're going to rely on our inventory data, which is awesome, and the public feedback piece and the staff input piece I think will be really, really important, and then and they're going to use some of our existing, they called me and talked to me, and they actually were familiar with their comprehensive plan, which I thought was awesome. They were asking for our strategic plan for the city, which is forthcoming, I think, in the near future.
We paused. I can ask when that's coming back.
I think it's relatively soon.
It should be. We were kind of in disagreement about how that moves forward, and I can't remember.
Oh, that's okay. I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No. I can follow up on it, though.
Yeah, because I did talk to them. I said, we do have a strategic plan coming out, and I would like it kind of stacked within,
Sure.
and also the sustainability plan, and they were very open to that. And so, I kind of like this approach too, which, what do we have, what do we want, and then how do we get there? And that's sort of what we need. I think we kind of know what we have, and it's pretty easy to fill them in on that. And then what we want, that's the public outreach piece, that's the working with you, working with Park Commission, working with council, that whole piece. And then the plan kind of hooks those two things together, we have 22% canopy now. We want 30% by 2050. Are we on track to get there? Or are we not? We have a tree preservation ordinance. We want to have heritage trees in our municipality protected. What we have and what we want, are they, do we have to have more steps to make those things happen? So I don't know if I'm making a whole lot of sense here, but that's kind of the approach that they're wanting to take, which is I think will work well with what we're wanting. They will go to the Healthy Neighborhoods, which was part of my RFP, and they will work with, and they're going to come here. I asked them they'll come to the July meeting and I think the August meeting. It's due in December, so we have to have a deliverable by December, so it's kind of an accelerated time frame. And so I just feel like they really, and if you look through their community engagement, it's, I thought it was, they've obviously done this quite a bit before, and it's pretty, the internal engagement and foundation work, and then they gather input from the community for visioning and goals, doing a survey, doing an open house, working with this. They call out Tree Advisory Committee, which is awesome, and then they also have some stuff that we would do through our social media and our website. And I've talked to FACTv, and I think we should have no problem working together on that. So at any rate, and they looked up the 2015 survey, and they were really familiar with that, which I thought was great. There's talk of maybe revisiting that. I'm not sure if that's the best way to go or not, but at any rate, so they definitely did their homework. I feel really good about working with them. I think we'll get a really good product out of it, and I was pretty impressed. And I also said, hey, we also have this woodland management policy we need to get accomplished as well. So we're gonna, when we're doing all this outreach for the urban forestry plan, we are also going to be visiting this policy too, just so you know, we're gonna try and get some value, some additional value. So we're not doing a whole separate process to get public input for that urban forestry policy piece. So at any rate, and they were completely open to that. So, at any rate, I feel like it's a really good presentation, or I feel like it's a really good proposal. I'm really comfortable going with them. I think we'll definitely get our $25,000 worth. And to be clear, we're getting, the cash to pay them is the 25 grand from DNR. We're matching that with staff time, which really shouldn't be a problem. So the cash outlay really isn't, it's staff time, obviously, which is not nothing, but it's not, there's no budget outlay for this project from the city. Does anyone have any questions, or, I don't know, I didn't do an awesome job of going through this.
No, I think you did a great job. I have 2 questions. The first one, I think you already kind of answered, but my first question was, what is their experience with community feedback and things like that? But it sounds like they have.
They've done a lot of it, you know, and Rich, so he's done a lot of, work with Emerald Ash Borer, and when we were here, he was doing, just basically effectiveness of treatment and the effective treatment on trees. So that was more of a technical, sciencey tree kind of, study, but he's done an awful lot of the social science end of it too, and he's a very personable guy and comes across well, and he was a professor for a lot of years, so he's a very well-spoken person. And he's very highly respected in the industry, which is awesome.
That is awesome. My only other question was, I'm trying to find there was a part in the sustainability readout. I'm not overstating that I loved it a lot. And they had a table, I can find it at some point, but it called out a little bit about budgets and timing and phase. And so it had this very well laid out in terms of like, when is the estimated time, the feasible start year, who are external partners we could work with, and all of that. And I think one of the pieces of feedback that we had to reiterate over and over in 2 council meetings ago was, just because you have a plan doesn't mean the plan approves all the taxpayer dollars to do all the things. Mm-hmm. So does their plan also come with like kind of timing and rough estimation of dollars?
I think I would probably have to do that, because I think Phil's the one that did that for that. And we did spend twice as much on the sustainability plan as this. So that was a $50,000 plan that the city paid for.
That's awesome.
And this is only a 25, and the city's paying nothing for this, but I just thought I'd throw that in there. I think Phil's the one that did that, so I can probably do that.
Yeah, like that's actually really great that he's the one that did that, because to your point, you can borrow his template and be able to kind of say, hey, here's how we look at it in terms of prioritization. And I know it's your extra time, but I'm also very glad that you're involved with this, because I think Phil was pretty heavily involved in the other one, and it felt like that. Mm-hmm. It felt like it was very much someone internal staff putting their thumb of the city on it, which is great.
That.
Yeah.
You kind of need that.
Yeah. Those are my only questions.
So just another follow-up, maybe in terms of cost efficiency. When I see that the plan is to use all of the best practices, current best practices, so I keep thinking about the choice of trees, that they might recommend, that are consistent with the pattern that our climate seems to be taking with drought, and then all the issues with salt, and then planting patterns that keep in mind optimal sustainability for the trees. Whether they may be, again, we talked a little bit about woodlots, but I'm just looking at those planting patterns.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important. It's really important. Does anyone else have any questions about this proposal, or kind of the thought process overall?
It's great. Great opportunity. Thank you so much for running the grant.
Oh,
wonderful.
Yeah. Well, this committee's been working on this for years. Before I even came up, and it really takes, you really need an outside person in to kind of get it done.
And it seems like the list of places that they've worked is like all over in different climates and environments, which was really cool.
It is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will make a motion to approve the, I'll back to the number of the agenda item.
It's resolution number R4525.
Thank you. I move to approve resolution R4525.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, it passes. So resolution R4525 has been approved by Tree Advisory Committee.
Well, thank you. I'm really looking forward to working with this, with all of you on this. I think it's been a long time in coming. The last time the city did anything like this was 1999.
All right. Next agenda item is resolution R5225. And this is approval of the 2025 spring tree planting plan. Maybe I'll read the background and then you can take off of it. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, the background on this resolution is the Forestry Division has identified the need to plant 252 trees this coming spring. Tree locations included city terraces and parks, along with plantings for new developments. This list of 252 trees was advertised in the Wisconsin State Journal and Quest with a total of 6 qualified bidders providing proposals. Staff is recommending SRB trees for this work and is not to exceed a price of $59,220. SRB trees provided these same services in the past and staff was satisfied with their work.
And so it comes down to $235 a tree, which is insanely, take it and run is all I can say. I was very surprised.
Very much.
It's very competitive pricing.
Yeah.
How much per tree?
$235. Installed, year warranty, and a year maintenance.
$235?
I know. I think we finally have gotten down to how, just to most efficiently put these projects together, keep everything together, keep all the new development terraces together, to keep all the ash removals together, and bid it out appropriately, and keep it about at that 250 number. And that's where it seems like that's the sweet spot. If we go bigger, it's hard for us to manage it, and it's hard for a lot of our contractors to do it. It's smaller, I think they lose some efficiency, but I think that 250 number seems to really serve us well. Between 250 and 275, once we get bigger than that, it just gets to be, it's a little too much for us, and it just seems to be a little bit too much for them too, to keep it real efficient. And a lot of this is like, going down Romaine and Terravessa and kabam, 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 and then, and then Radicchio, kabam, 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 kabam. So I think there's a lot of efficiency that we get from that. Same thing in some of our other developments, it's just, planting trees in new developments, which is, we get a lot of efficiency for, but then these ash replacements will come in under budget, which is awesome.
So you're talking about 252 trees?
Yes.
And then the price?
Comes out to $235 a tree.
Oh, $235 a tree. Wow, yeah.
And that includes, does that include the labor to plant them?
Wow. Yeah,
So we just have to put a
pretty
stake in the ground. They even call Diggers Hotline. We put a stake in the ground with the tree species. And then I supervise it, so I'm out there with them. But and then they'll put the tree right there. So, it works out pretty well. I know. So I think, I never know what to expect when we bid out trees. I never know what to expect. With fuel being all over the place and labor being all over the place and just never knowing, I never know. So, I was very pleased.
Wow.
So, and all of this is in Excel because, at least for me, the only thing I can get to go into Quest is Excel. So, so when I upload all this into Quest, it only works if it's in Excel for whatever reason. So that's why it's all Excel. And it's also easier for me than when I'm figuring out the numbers for each development, everything. I can do it pretty easily. But if you're wondering why is this all in Excel, that's why. But at any rate, and this is all the new developments. They're all here. And then we have, ash replacements. So it's mostly new developments, ash replacements. We'll do, we're gonna do Hugh at Jamestown for Arbor Day. We will do parks this year, but probably not this spring. I need to kind of figure that out because we do have ash replacements and parks to do. But we'll get this done first.
Does this help with any of our tree canopy.
Yes, absolutely. And some of these neighborhoods were 0, you know, because they're new.
Right, that's true.
You know, I mean, when you go from cornfield, I call it cornfields to canopy, when you go from cornfields to houses and you plant trees, you get instant canopy, so, yeah, so at any rate.
I have a dumb question. If there's a new development being planned, do we not have tree planting requirements for the developers?
Yep, so they have to give us $300 for each, it's every lot or every 40 feet. And so that's part of their green infrastructure, and that's part of the developer's agreement, and we collect that with all of their fees. So we collect those developer deposits is what they're called. They go into the account, and then I always have to double check it to make sure that we've got enough money in there. And then, and the planting plan we come up with, what we actually plant often change because of infrastructure, mailboxes, lights, that kind of stuff. So I have to go out and kind of adjust it all. I change species often and things of that nature, just because the reality on the ground is different from like the paper plans. But yes, so all of the way that the costs break down, and I think the accounts are in here, most of this is, so it's, the city is paying for, it's only about $5,000 coming out of operating for these trees, and then the rest is developer deposits, and then ash replacements. We have a fund for ash replacements this year, and that is, I want to say that's 6,000 or 9,000.
Oh, I see the developer.
Oh, I have it right here in front. Why am I looking through paper? I'm so old. I look through papers instead.
No, it's on your attachments.
Yeah,
I just
exactly.
Looked.
This is so silly. I'm like looking through. Anyway. I frustrate other people who live in my house.
Me too, it's okay.
So is this the spring tree planting?
So it looks like 22,000, 23,000 is coming from the Parks Department, different funds though. And then the rest is coming from developer deposits.
Yeah, so it looks like, so 18,000 is the ash replacements and 4,900 is the operating.
So of the $59,000, only 5,000 of that is coming from
Operating.
an operating budget. This $18,000 is in a specific fund that must be used
For ash replacements.
for ash replacements.
It's ARPA TID, it's TID closure money.
That's great. And
So, yeah, so the ARPA TID is that 18 grand, operating is that 49, basically 5 grand. And then the Crescent Crossing, so we've got one tree in phase, so this is the thing, like, so phase 1 of Crescent Crossing is just one tree, and then phase 4 of Crescent Crossing is, you know, a couple more trees. Most of it's phase 2 of Crescent Crossing. So that's phase 2 is 3,200, and this is phase Fields is this, and like, it's just, you know, these are all the different developer deposits that,
I think this
Anyway.
is a really good use of
so.
city dollars collected for this purpose.
Yeah, so Highfield Reserve, different phases. So anyway, and we're pretty mindful as we're planting these trees, because the other thing that happens is there's more planting spaces available than we collect money for, but it kind of works out because we end up like, we've collected $300, we're only spending $235, we'll be able to capture more planting spaces with all of this. So anyway, it works out. We get a lot of canopy, so the total is 59 grand, 2022. But anyway, so we get a lot of value out of all of this, and I think, like I said before, I think we've kind of figured out exactly how to bid these things to be the most cost effective for everyone, and it really shows, because our tree, like last year it was $240 a tree, which I thought was awesome, and then to get $235 this year, I was just like, take it and run.
Right. Wow.
So that's kind of it's kind of I don't know, that's basically the tree planting, and these are the different species. We're trying to do a lot of different things this year. Well, not really, you know, I'm always trying different things. So you see 17 tulip trees. Okay, tulip tree, that's our tulip poplar. It is a zone 5 tree. It can survive here, but it's been doing really, really well. You typically see it farther east and farther south, but it's been doing awesome here, so we're planting more of those. London plane tree, kind of a similar situation. They've been doing awesome. They're an awesome canopy tree. They've been doing great, so we're planting more of those. We're backing off a little bit. I did add Japanese tree lilacs back in this year. I haven't done those for a few years because people didn't really like them as much, but they do awesome in climate change and they have a beautiful flower. So I'm like, okay, we'll try a few more of those this year. we're doing, let's see, we're still doing, we have some of the service berries and the hornbeams and the kitsuras and redbuds, we have a lot of places where we need smaller trees, near mailboxes, near lights, that kind of stuff, and so they serve that purpose. And ginkgo, I put those where I can't get anything else to grow often, although they do add a lot to the, especially that beautiful yellow fall color. Anyway, so it's kind of it's our usual suspects with, we're trying to, but we do try to kind of plant different things. I took the elms way down from what we've done in the past. We only did 11 this year, just because it's hard to get the species, it's hard to get them in good form, and we've had trouble with some of them. Some of those hybrid elms keeping the sidewalk, so these are all going into places with really wide terraces and where they're not going to cause infrastructure issues. So I don't know. This is kind of the lay of the land, and we're trying one red oak. We'll see how that goes. I'm sure it'll be fine. I don't know. I think it'll be good. You don't know until you try it for some of these things, but these are they usually do well for us, so I'm not too worried about any of it.
Very exciting. Thanks for going through.
Oh yeah, no problem. I mean, if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to speak more to it. And happy to be getting canopy in some of these new neighborhoods.
If there's.
Oh, and you can see some of the other prices that we got, how it stacks up. So our lowest was 59, and then, it just goes up from there.
It was a 92.
Yeah. Yeah, 92 was our highest. So, and it would make me nervous if we haven't worked with SRB trees before, but we have many times. And they do well with the warranty work, so that's great.
That's great.
Well, if there's no more questions, I will move approval of resolution R52-25.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the resolution R5225 has been approved by Tree Advisory.
Thank you, guys. I think this will be great.
Yeah. Exciting. Okay, report from the department.
Yeah, so I put together a written report, and one thing I will talk a little bit about, but I don't want to make a huge big deal about it because I'm a little bit afraid. I was talking to Linda earlier. We did apply for that federal grant. It did come through, but Urban Tree Alliance's federal grant came through, and then it was in question, and then it was kind of no one really quite knew what happened, but they got the money, so we're doing the project.
Like in their bank account?
Yeah, they ordered the trees, so we're planting Southdale this spring. I just said, okay,
This spring?
Yes, April 27th, we set the date, everything's set, trees are ordered.
Get them in the ground before they.
Exactly, so I'm a little afraid to talk too much about it because I don't want to jinx it, but
That's right.
and then there was.
When your baby's sleeping well, you don't tell anyone your baby's sleeping well.
Exactly, this is exactly it, right? You just, so we'll see, and then there was talk well, gee, if any other money comes through, we better spend this year, so we did all the ash removals for the Southdale project, which is not insignificant, right? So I really thank Public Works for getting all that work done. They had to close roads and really mobilize a lot of guys and get trees down and get it all cleaned up, and it was not an insignificant amount of work on their end, and they did a great job with it, and they got it down pretty quickly. So we have all of the ash trees removed, and there were some other crummy trees that needed to get removed in Southdale, so they're all gone. Those stumps are ground, so it's all set to go, and so April, I think it's 27th, or 28th, that last week in April is when we're scheduled to go. So all we need to do is put the stakes in, call Digger's Hotline, and go berserk. So I think, so that's just the very last, the trees are really the frosting on the cake, right? So, but that's the cost. So anyway, so that's moving forward, and the Hugo Jamestown canopy renovation is also moving forward. So that's on Arbor Day, or April 26th, which is the day after Arbor Day, which is our Arbor Day celebration. That's all been ordered. That's all been paid for too. So we're getting two of our big projects, and then the third one was, around on Leopold and Traceway and Post Road, and that's all set to go. So I said, if you need to put trees into any disadvantaged neighborhoods this year, this is set to go. So I submitted all of that stuff. So we should be good. So if more things come through, I'll just get to the staff report since that's what we're talking about. So if more things come through, or more of that money comes through, we are set be able to take advantage of it. I don't know what will or will not happen, but anyway, so that's the story on that. I don't exactly know what to think about it, but I'm just not gonna jinx it. Anyway, but does anyone have any other questions about what's kind of happening?
Can you talk about the Stigert park?
Oh, yeah, so there's a project to build a kind of a bike way station, I believe you might want to call it, like a bike repair station, that kind of thing, in honor of a gentleman who passed away off of the Cap City Trail. And I believe it'll be all privately funded, but the site is wooded. It's primarily has black walnuts on it. There was some goat grazing that happened there last year, and the goats kind of beat up some box elder trees and a mulberry and some aspen trees. So I did mark those for removal, but part of this plan for the bike infrastructure or the bike wayside is to put a prairie in. And as we know, black walnut trees and prairie don't really coexist all that great. So in order to put the prairie in, there was a request, that we needed to remove the trees to make way for the prairie. So I went out and marked the trees, and it turns out there's I think 44, 45 of them. And I was like, do we really want to do this or not or what? So we're kind of in conversation with the folks who are advocating for the bike wayside, are we going to take all these trees down? Are we going to, put the prairie in? What are we doing? I think there's kind of talk of trying to do this compromise between trying to get some prairie in and trying to get black walnuts, leave the black walnuts, but I don't know. I told them I'd meet with them again and kind of see what, I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense from a maintenance perspective. So we'll see. I mean, it's a good question. It's still kind of, I guess, up in there.
Has there been another meeting since we talked about it? Or
no.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I met with Sue and Ann out there and just identified trees just to let them know,
So I've had at least a couple of people approach me who live in the neighborhood saying, I see these healthy trees marked for removal, and I'm really concerned about that. And that's exactly what you're talking about with the walnut trees. So, and the plan was developed by, I believe, a student, so it wasn't a certified arborist.
No, it was a grad student, and I think the plan is fine. I didn't know anything about this project until I saw the plan, and just what I said right away when I saw it, I was like, hey, there's existing trees on that site. They're not on the plan. Do we want to think about keeping some of them or not or what? And it just was not really part of the thought process. And I had suggested, I'm like, you know what? Maybe we don't need a prairie here. I don't know. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see kind of how.
Isn't the goal because I think I had a constituent call me about this.
Yeah.
It's a bike repair.
Yep.
Is there that? And is there a bench?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So the prairie need isn't
It's not a good location.
100% critical. I mean, I think it's a beautiful idea to honor
Yeah.
his memory. It sounds like he was a great community member.
Yep.
And at the same time, if they're married to that location, it needs to be something that I think it's fair to say, to your point, this grad student did a great job. Unfortunately, having trees on a site plan is very critical.
Yeah.
And so if you're married to this site, it has to go around the trees or in combination with them. I don't know that we really want to spend tax dollars or even if it's privately funded, I don't know that we want to cut down healthy city-owned trees.
Right.
Now, if they're really tied to the prairie, is there another space that we could feed two birds with one stone and take down a dead tree or a couple dead trees and beautifully restore that? So if you need any support in helping with those conversations, because I think the woman I spoke to might have been the widow.
Oh, could be.
I believe, and she was very, very kind, and it was months ago.
Yeah.
So I don't know that there had been the conversation that the trees existed, and if so, I'm more than happy to help support that conversation too of we want to honor his memory, of course, and we want to make sure we're not cutting down healthy city trees.
Well, the other part of it too, what I mentioned too, is that those trees were probably planted by squirrels. The squirrels are not going away, and there's walnut all throughout that Yarmouth Greenway, so we're gonna be battling squirrels planting walnuts in the prairie forever. So
and we don't want to have that disrupting what they have the ideal image. Yeah.
So I mean, so it's kind of
That's a great point.
From my point, it's kind of not only do we not want to take the trees down from a resource perspective, but also putting a prairie in there is going to be tough. I mean, because the juggalo will really, inhibit anything that's growing, and we're gonna have squirrels constantly trying to turn it back into a black walnut forest. So, and Sue and I have done this. We've been there, done that. We kind of know how tough this is. So anyway, so we'll see. I mean, I'm meeting with them again, and they've said, okay, we want to leave some trees, and I'm like, well, I don't, because I think what they've said is, well, we want to find a compromise between putting the prairie in and leaving some trees. I'm like, well, let's kind of think this through and just
Who said that?
I think it was Dawn and Steve Arnold. And
I'd be happy to meet with you too.
okay.
Just as a member of the committee, and I know Dawn.
Yeah,
too,
and
so.
I think the intentions are great. It's just
100%.
it's just a matter of thinking it through and being like, okay,
Right.
is it really the best idea? And what I had said is like, this is a beautiful plan. It's a beautiful plan. I'm not sure, does it fit this situation? Does it fit this site? Let's just kind of maybe massage it a little bit just to make it a little
Without
bit.
the prairie inclusion, if it was just the bench and the station, right, the bike fixing station, do you
might be able
have
to bring it up.
concerns outside of that?
I might be able to bring it up here. Not. Oops, I can
If
see
you don't have to, maybe you can send it to me offline, but I'm just wondering if the prairie is the only thing that's of concern.
I think. I mean, it's a nice little plan. Let's see. It's so it's a conceptual plan, and you can see. I mean, the trees aren't. So it's it's this little spot off of. Oops, it's not. Is it not? There we go. So it's this little spot off of this. And the reason this is an outlot is there's MSD. There's a sewer line that goes through here, and then you can see. I mean, the concept plan is this, and so this is the prairie. They want to put. So this is the actual Cap City Trail, and they want to add this. This kind of walking path and that kind of thing. And you can see there's trees here. These are all planted. So this is the so this is the idea is that you.
How many
Cap
trees
City-
have been marked? It's quite a few.
See, and this is the concept plan, and this is, you can see this is the Cap City Trail, and this is, these are the trees they want to plant, but they don't have any of the existing trees on here, which I had said, I'm like, well, this is a wooded site, so.
The policy is to always include trees
Yeah.
in there.
Yep. And so this is, and then they want to plant all these things, which is nice, and then the prairie is kind of interspersed here, but it's like, okay, it might make more sense just to, and all of this is expensive. I told them, I said, you know what, your plant list is a $60,000 plant list. But, which I don't, anyway, so if we did put this path in, there are trees here that we could potentially keep and add some as appropriate. So, I don't know.
So it's private citizen funds being donated to the city for this particular project. But then the city also.
But the city maintains it.
Well, yeah, right, we would have to, right, because it's on city property.
We would be responsible for maintaining.
And then would the city match any funds?
Eventually.
Oh, God. We have no money. I mean, I shouldn't say it like that.
I think that's a fair thing to say. I just want to make sure we're not committing
I don't think so.
to that.
I don't think not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
And I think of all the things that, anyway.
And I think did they raise some extra funds for maintenance, but I don't know how long that will be, and the city will be forever responsible
If this is,
for.
I think if this is a
So,
persistent, we probably can't dive too deep into it because it's not technically noticed on the agenda.
right.
But I think, I'll stop myself, I say that comment for myself.
Yeah.
But I think it would be, if you need any help in those conversations, I just want to make sure I think there's a way to both honor this fantastic community member
Right.
and also
Right.
not put the city in a place where we're
Right.
having to do very expensive ongoing maintenance at the taxpayers' hands.
Right.
Well, and the thing that I had said, because I just said and I told these people, I said, hey, just realize if there's something that goes wrong here, the call is coming to the city.
Right.
If there's a tree that needs maintenance or if there's prairie that needs to be maintained, the call is coming to us. And so most of the prairie, I guess, is, it's hard to tell, but I get, because these aren't really prairie plants, but I think that's what this is supposed to be, and then like this part, and I don't know, and I think they've already kind of adjusted some of this, but at any rate, we'll kind of see how it all shakes out. So I'm meeting with them again, and and if you look at this concept plan, there is a lot of trees in here. There's already a lot of trees on the site. My take on it is like, well, can't we just leave as much of this as possible and just plant what's appropriate to plant under black walnut and see, and kind of go from there instead of trying to, and I did say like, I'm kind of getting in the weeds here, but as some of you know very well, like we don't really do prairie reconstruction. We do prairie restorations where we're gonna get a lot of Mother Nature giving it where there's a seed bank where it hasn't been highly disturbed. We don't usually take highly modified sites that were a railroad track and have MSD infrastructure and have housing, having a road cut right next to them, and then with all that soil all mixed up and all those weeds, we don't usually try to make that into prairie because it's an uphill battle. Typically, like you think about McGaw Park, well, that was pasture/farmland. It never saw Roundup Ready agriculture, so that soil layer is awesome. You take off the invasives, you throw a fire through, and you get all kinds of stuff back. The same thing with Oak Meadow. Like it's amazing. We've done quite a bit of weed management there, but once you start burning it and really actually get the weed cover off, then the native stuff comes back. So I don't know that we'd have a whole lot of that here because it is so highly modified, and I'm not sure that is native soil. But the walnuts are super happy. So it's like, wow.
Yeah, they're very healthy.
They're super happy.
And there's quite a few of them marked
44.
44, yeah. I mean, that's a pretty big bite out of our canopy.
So, so it's one of those things where it's just like.
If you think we're planting 252 new trees this year, but we're gonna remove 44 mature, healthy trees.
Like that's a little less than a fifth of what we're paying for.
Right. So do we need to put it on our agenda for next time?
I think we probably should.
Okay, we can.
Okay, let's do that, and then we can.
At any rate,
Let's
well.
do that. Thank you.
Yes, of course, yes. If anyone else has any questions, let me know.
Yeah, what is the goal date for their action?
I have no idea. Because I don't know.
Do you know how much has already been council approved for this? I know there's some stuff that had RCC approval, I think.
They approved the concept plan, but I don't know that they've approved a site plan. I'm not sure a site plan exactly exists.
What are we talking about now?
When did they approve the concept plan?
Are we talking about this? Yeah.
Yeah. I was just wondering if we'd already.
It was last fall.
Yeah, I think that's why I got a phone call, because I was traveling for work.
Yeah, that could be.
Who approved it?
Council approved the concept plan and the naming, I think. So.
Was it a resolution?
Yeah, it was kind of a situation where there was a resolution the resolution in the packet isn't what got approved because they brought a different resolution.
Right.
So I couldn't even tell you what got approved because I never really, I guess I could dig through now what got posted post-meeting, but what was in the actual meeting packet is not the resolution that the council ended up voting on. It was a different resolution that the parties involved brought to council.
I think just knowing that for next time when this does get on the agenda would be real helpful, so we know whether it's, they're gonna come asking for approval to remove all these trees and then we have to have that discussion, or if it's already been approved, there's just no budget, because those are very different.
I think also if it came via direct referral, there's also like a place where we can say, hey, has tree committee seen this, right? Like, has parks signed off on it? Has this signed off on it? So I think that's the other thing.
No, it did not go.
It didn't go to parks? It did?
It came to parks and we did not approve what the council subsequently did approve.
So, yeah.
So the concept plan versus whatever the next plan that you have approval on is called what?
Well, that would be the site plan.
The site plan. And the site plan determines, is that where you say, we don't think this should be a prairie, this should be this?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not sure where that is at, so it'll be interesting to see, and I will ask them.
So if council approved the concept plan, there still is room to make some recommendations.
It sounds like it.
If it sounds like it's not a good match for that location.
Because if we're talking about cutting down 44 trees, I would hope the tree advisory committee would get a weigh in on whether or not that's
Yeah, it's
appropriate.
counterproductive to the other thing. Sounds like it to
Or it just sounds like topical for this group to discuss.
Right, yep, okay.
Would it make sense to invite Steve Arnold to the next meeting?
I'll ask him,
Yeah.
we can do that.
And maybe Dawn
That's a
too.
good suggestion.
Yeah,
I would do.
we don't want them to think we're shutting them out.
Well, that's the thing, and I always say like, everyone's supportive of the plan, let's just make sure that we get a plan that actually fits the site, and actually, when I say fits the situation, I mean something we can maintain moving forward.
Right, and that will like honor a memory without being a nuisance to keep up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That we really can't do.
Feels like it should be consistent with the current plans that the city and we have and support that have already been approved, and losing that many trees sounds like it's not consistent, so.
I would agree.
Work something out.
And I think it's one of those things that just didn't really get thought through. I'm not sure that, I mean, like when I said, like you can see, I mean, existing trees aren't on the concept plan, so they just didn't really get incorporated. So, at any
How many
rate,
people have been to see the site?
I don't know. I mean, I've been there a bunch with.
I mean, here of us,
I don't actually know.
I've
Sue
seen it.
and I went to see it with,
just yourself.
yeah, Sue and I.
And I've seen it.
So it might be good for the rest of us to maybe to stop by and check it out. I think having eyes on it would certainly be helpful in our conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Okay, so we'll add that agenda item to the next agenda and send an invite out to Dawn and Steve. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's really good.
Cool.
all right. So I guess that's probably more of a report from the department than you made me do.
That was great. That's great.
So,
Thank you for being willing to discuss it.
announcements, Arbor Day.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple things for announcements wise, that week of Arbor Day, which starts on April 21st, on April 22nd, which is Earth Day, which is a Tuesday, Chicory Meadows is having a tree planting at 10 in the morning. That is funded by the Million Trees Grant Project. So there's a plan to do, increase the canopy along the bike path and then add a few things into the wooded area that those volunteers have been working on. They're also gonna do something, they're gonna start on that Tuesday, and it's one of those things where the way that group works is, they come together and they do some work and then, it's kind of always an ongoing thing. So that whole week, we're gonna be planting trees, so it's a little nebulous, but if you wanna get involved, let me know, and you can definitely get involved. And then that Friday, that's Arbor Day, hopefully we'll finish tree planting there in Chicory Meadows. It's kind of exciting, it's the Million Trees Grant Program through the Line Energy, and they, wanna have higher profile projects where you're saving energy and things of that nature. And the idea is, if you plant trees along the bike path, more people will bike. So we'll see, I don't know. I mean, they funded it, which is great. So anyway, so that's going on. And then that Saturday, which is April 26th, is the Hewitt Jamestown tree planting event. And it's funded by that federal money, and it's a canopy renovation of the park. We're gonna start at 10 o'clock. We're gonna go till noon and see what we get done. We may not get all the trees planted because it's like 27 trees, which is a lot. We'll get done what we get done, and then whatever doesn't get done, Monday, the Urban Tree Alliance will finish planting. So it's kind of a, come, have fun, plant a few trees if you'd like. It's a community building event, and it's gonna be great, and we'll probably get quite a bit done. If we don't get everything done, that's no problem. Come Monday, Urban Tree Alliance will plant the rest. So and then on Saturday morning, also at 9 in the dog park, we are replacing some of those curly willows that were taken down and doing a little bit more canopy in the dog park, and then planting a few shrubs too, which will be, I think, a nice addition over there. So there are, if you're interested in planting trees this spring, there are some opportunities to do that, and we'll see how it all goes, and so that's kind of the long and the short of.
Great. And then the events, in the minutes, we just write events and those dates and
Yes,
times
I will.
on there. Okay, great, thanks.
Yep. So anyway, so that's kind of exciting for April, and obviously I'll make an agenda item in April too, just so everyone knows. So, and I'm really grateful for all the grant money. So but again, don't tell anyone your kid's sleeping. You just have to be like, okay.
And I see you mentioned the council meeting, so McGraw,
Yeah.
everybody knows that
Thank you.
resolution was passed.
Yeah.
It sure was.
Thank
Thanks
everyone for that,
everything.
yeah.
Thank you for
Everybody did.
all the work to present that and
Oh, sure.
the pre-video. Thank you to FACTv for getting that edited so
I
quickly.
thanked
That
them
was
when I
wonderful.
came in today.
That's
There was
awesome.
there was one elder who said, you know, before I saw that video and then heard all the information,
sure.
I wasn't in support of it. It was very powerful.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
And seeing is believing in some of those cases, so.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked.
No, it was really positive. The outcome was positive. The meeting was positive, people speaking out, and yes, great. Acknowledging the importance of science and expertise in making decisions is really critical.
I didn't know before that how few certified master arborists we have in the state. You're one of 5?
Something like that, yeah.
One of
Yeah, something
5.
like that.
Yeah.
Right. That's right.
Anyway.
Really fortunate,
Very cool.
really fortunate. All right. Any other questions?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, this meeting is adjourned at 5:03.